All right. Um, Pearson correlation. Pearson and Spearman correlations, page 123. All right, page 123. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to do our first inferential statistical test. We're moving beyond examining and describing and exploring. Now we're going to do an actual statistical test that will allow us to make a very specific claim about the relationship between two variables. Okay, having said all that, page 123, analyze, correlate, bivariate. All right, and so we want to make sure that that's the default. Two-tailed is selected. Pearson and Spearman are both selected. And we're going to move math achievement test and mother's education into the window here. Now where the mother's education. Okay. Then we're going to click on options. We're going to select means and standard deviations, which is something that I normally wouldn't do. Exclude cases listwise, right? We want to do that to deal with missing data. All right, and then we're going to select continue and then OK. All right, this is our first statistical test. So raise your glass. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so the bottom of page 124 is consistent with that which we see here. So let's talk about what we see. All right, now first of all, you know that in statistical tests, generally speaking, and really more that's a bit liberal, any value for significance that is less than 0.05 is regarded as being statistically significant. It happens less than 5% of the time by chance. It's statistically significant. Okay, and so what we can say at the outset is that these two variables have a statistically significant relationship. All right. Now, the text goes into considerable detail about the distinction between the Pearson score and the Spearman score. Okay, we can see both are statistically significant. And essentially, the most important thing I want you to understand about the Spearman versus the Pearson is that if data is not normally distributed, okay, we know at least one or two ways to determine or to make some assessment as to whether or not data is normally distributed. If it is not normally distributed, then we can use the Spearman. If it is, we can use the Pearson. Okay, and your text talks a little bit more about the distinctions, and we'll talk more about that in class. But that's our first statistical test. Okay, now on page 126, you have a sample write-up, and that's a really good treatment. It's a very direct, well-written treatment of that statistical test. It's the kind of thing that you would see in a journal. It's the kind of thing I'm going to expect you to do when when you submit your quantitative write-ups. All right. So that's our first correlation. All right. And the most important values here, in my estimation, are that it's a significant relationship. And the text talks more about some of the other values. This is the actual Pearson correlation. Why is it the same here as it is here? Because we only have two variables. And so this tells us what's the value for mother's education, the relationship between mother's education and math achievement. Well, it's 3.38. What's the relationship between math achievement and mother's education? It's the same two variables. So of course it's going to have the same values here. Our first correlation.